Awesome. So I think we are just about at time. We have a few people still joining, but we can kick it off now. So today you're stuck with just me. Steve is not going to be able to make the call, so I can't promise I'm going to have as many jokes as he does. I'm not that funny. But we do have exciting news. Zak Geis from Chase is going to be joining our leadership team. And so no longer do you just get to see mine and Steve's pretty face. You get to now see Zak's every month as well. So Zak comes from us from Chase. He leads the Center of Excellence there and focuses on delivering quality Tableau experiences from across the firm. He's Tableau Desktop certified as well as Server certified and a data dev ambassador and enjoys speaking about all things Tableau. So welcome, Zak. You'll learn more about him. He's one of our presenters today. Today on our agenda, we're going to open it up with the Learning from Our Peers session. So again, this is the segment that we host every month. So if you have anything exciting to share to the community beyond to showcase tips, tricks, best practices, personal stories surrounding analytics, this doesn't just have to be tied to Tableau, but anything in general, feel free to raise your hand and we'll call on you after we go through the announcements in this schedule for today. Following that, we have Zak Geis, who's going to be presenting on Tableau Design Tips live. So he'll use examples from the Tableau Design Tips series to demonstrate effective user-focused design in Tableau. This will cover a mix of technical tricks and design tips, and we'll also be working through a design tip together live. We then follow that with Sean Miller with a Workout Wednesday live. So a lot of live action going on today. And this is going to be based off of the weekly Tableau community initiative to help you work out and grow those technical Tableau skills. So you join him as he walks step by step how to build a challenging dashboard. Along the way, he shares his tips and tricks with everything from basic formatting to understanding why Tableau does some things the way it does. And then lastly, we'll do some closing remarks and then any feedback and questions that the team may have or the community may have for us. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and open it up to our community session. Or Zak, go ahead and do a brief intro on you. I don't know if you want to wait or do it now.
Yeah, I'll do a quick intro. So like Aaron said, if you have any tips or things, if you want to raise your hand, just put yourself out in the chat. We're going to look for people to volunteer. Appreciate the intro, Aaron. Really excited to join the team and, excited to help to grow and evolve the C-Bus Tug. So really excited to be part of this. A couple quick announcements just before we get started. So a couple things to just shout out there in the community. So Women in Analytics, if you're not familiar with this group or this program, it's something definitely to check out. They have a analytics newsletter that goes out, I believe, once a month. They have a conference coming up, and they even have a data visualization competition that's coming up as well. So you don't just have to be a woman to participate. It's pretty much any data viz. So if you have things that you're interested in or you're proud of and you want to submit to it, it's completely welcome. If it's like it has been in previous years, it's not even specific to a data set. It's really just anything you've built recently you can submit to the competition. So put an eye out for that. A quick shout out to a program that I lead with Michelle. So somebody else from the Boston Tug, she leads the Boston Tug. So Michelle Freeman and I lead this program. Every Wednesday, we look for people that are looking for Viz feedback. So every Wednesday, we go back and forth from 8 a.m. Eastern or 4 p.m. Eastern, and basically you can join and get free inspiration and talk to us about any design considerations you have and just get some general feedback. So that's open to everyone. That's there. All you got to search is Viz Office Hours on Twitter or LinkedIn. A big shout out. So as Aaron mentioned, I am a data dev ambassador. So I'm very heavily involved in the data dev program for Tableau. So this is using APIs, the extensibility in Tableau, all those kind of things. Very excited that the Tableau Data Dev Day, the first of its kind, is coming in May 21st. I will actually be presenting a couple times in that, including a presentation about all the automation things that we're doing at Chase. And there's actually going to be a hackathon as well that actually was just announced yesterday. So if you're interested in that topic, definitely take a look at that. Register at the URL right here, tableau.com/datadevday. I think I've got one last thing. So it's always kind of tough to keep up with all these things that are happening in the community. So I always encourage people to check out Mark's podcast. You probably know Mark, especially if you're in either the Twitter community or if you come to the Columbus Tug a lot. He's in Cleveland, so he joins us a lot. He has a podcast that he releases about every week, and it's only about 5 to 10 minutes. So it's really easy to jump on, check it out, and catch up on all the things that are happening. So with that, like Aaron said, I think we're looking for volunteers now. If you have any tips or things that you'd like to show off or anything like that, we're looking for people with volunteers. I think we do have a hand raised, Aaron.
Let's see. Pulling it up.
Oh, we did. We did. They disappeared. I think they I think they didn't know that they had their hand raised.
So I did get one question, and that was, how do we sign up for the Women in Analytics? Give me one.
Yeah, so what I would say is just search for Women in Analytics newsletter. You'll find all this kind of stuff. There's a registration page. So if you search Women in Analytics 2021, in fact, I can do that real quick. Women in Analytics 2021. We'll see if this pops up. So the first option here is Women in Analytics, and also they have the conference itself, the second option that comes up for me when I search that in Google. And you can go ahead and register for all the things right there on their page.
Awesome. Thanks for walking through that. So
Yeah.
do we have anyone in the community who's willing to speak up? It's got to be one person. It can even be a success story that you've recently had.
Yeah, so it's really, anybody that's on here, anything you want to share. If it's a tip that you've recently learned in Tableau, if it's a blog that you want to promote, some data content that you've built, a Viz that you've built, anything like that. If you have something that you'd like to share with the group, we're definitely happy to have you join.
And I'm also going to extend that a little bit. I don't know if anyone else on this call has downloaded the recent version of 2021. And if you have a Mac versus a Windows, but if you are experiencing any issues, this is also a forum that you can take that to us, and we can take it back to internal at Tableau to present those with those issues that you might be experiencing.
I did have a question about the Viz Office Hour, so I'll put that up right here. So there's all the information about that. So again, that's every Wednesday. I just did it this morning. So next week it'll be at 4 p.m. Eastern. The following week it'll be at 8 a.m. So yeah, just join any level of design or any stage of the process, even any tool. We're happy to chat with you if you want some feedback on your stuff.
So I might pick on someone from the chat that I know is on the call. If they don't have anything, that's fine. But Angela Goodman or Cody Meyer. Oh, it looks like we have a hand raised. Never mind. Here we go. So RxG 54C.
You got a hero, guys. They jumped in for you.
Yeah. You are now a panelist, so you're able to speak.
I accidentally pressed the button.
Oh.
So let me ask this from a general standpoint. I know you're talking about having office hours. So you'll assist users building or fixing their Viz that they've got in process?
Yeah, it's mostly catered around design and feedback there, but we have had people that have joined and then just can't figure something out. So, we're looking mostly for people in the design space, but if you've kind of got a mixed bag of, I'm looking for some, design feedback, but also I can't figure out how to make this work this way. It's a pretty gray line as far as what kind of feedback we get.
Okay, and this includes novices?
Absolutely. 100%. Any level, any stage, anything like that, we're happy to help.
Okay, cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No problem. And it looks like we have, see, I'm going to move you back to, okay. So Devanshi, I'm going to allow you to talk now. So go ahead.
Hi, Zach. Hi, Erin. Since nobody showed up, so I was working on this project recently regarding the top searches of like say countries and stuff. So there were only ranks in the data I was working on. And I was trying to build a Tableau dashboard around it since I had started like a Tableau Tuesdays post for my LinkedIn account. So I was posting regularly on Tableau Tuesdays. So I was hoping if I could get any help on the visualization that I was making.
Yeah,
Yeah,
so I
I
think
mean-
that'd be a great opportunity to go to one of the office hours that Zach hosts,
Oh,
or even
okay.
the presentation today.
Yeah,
Mhm.
100%. That's the same kind of stuff. Like, I mean, even today we had somebody join and they, they had the data and they didn't know where to go. Like, they just had a lot of measures, very little dimensionality, and they didn't know where to take that and turn it into a data visualization, and we helped them out. So that is a perfect use case to join one of our Wednesday sessions. And yeah, just all you got to do is find that link on Twitter, and there's a little form, takes you 2 minutes, and then you can join one of our sessions.
All right. Thanks a lot.
Awesome.
Awesome. So I do see a couple of people on here that create awesome dashboards. So any of you guys want to present?
Feedback on the new version, like Aaron said. So did have a question. How do you join if you're not on Twitter? I do post them on LinkedIn as well. If you're on LinkedIn, you can just search for my name, Zak Geis, and I post the same thing. So I always post pretty much everything I do. I post on Twitter and LinkedIn at the same time. So if you check on there, and even if you search that hashtag Viz Office Hours, you'll find it on LinkedIn as well. If you're not on LinkedIn, feel free. I'll actually, there's a slide that I introduce myself and it's got my email. You can always shoot me an email as well.
Perfect. Awesome. It looks like we have Angela Goodman raised her hand.
Nice.
So go ahead and share something.
Yeah, hi, I'm Angela Goodman. For those who don't know me, I'm at Nationwide Insurance, Tableau certified, and didn't have anything specifically to share, but just wanted to let you guys know a lot of what I do is executive dashboarding for the higher levels up. So I don't struggle as much with some of the data things, but a lot of different ways to show visualizations, big numbers, trending, things like that. One of the things that has helped me recently, I don't know if many know exist, if you search for Tableau dashboard starters, there are several things that Tableau has put out as dashboard starters. And I actually used one of those recently on a project where I had to come up with a quick way to show a mock-up. And it really spoke to our executives. The original data, I think, was like, I can't even remember, I think it was medical data of some thing. And so in showing them that, they were really liking just the visuals and the way it was presented. And that really helped, because I feel like sometimes a lot of the stumbling blocks can be just how they want to see things and what'll speak to them. And so that was really helpful. And then one thing I'll say on the data side, I had a colleague who didn't know that this functionality existed. If you are having to go through and replace data sources, remember that there is, for individual dimensions and measures, you can replace references. So if something gets slightly off name, you don't have to go into every worksheet and re-drag that pill on. Tableau will let you do that if you right-click and select replace references. So that's
Perfect.
what's on my mind today. Check with me next month, there may be more.
Appreciate it.
That's
And yeah,
awesome.
that replace references definitely saves a lot of time. So rather than having to rebuild from scratch, you can replace the reference on a worksheet, and that will replace everything where you've called, say it was a dimension called sum of sales. Every instance of sum and sales will then be replaced with whatever that new dimension is, or measure in this case, my bad.
And
So
so
with
we do
that-
have another question. So was there something you mentioned called Data Dev Day? So Data Dev Day, and again, this is very focused on API. It's extending Tableau, some server admin kind of stuff. So yeah, definitely take a look at that if you're interested. one thing, I don't know if we mentioned, Aaron, so if you have an actual question, it would be great if you put them in the question and answer box as opposed to the chat. Chat's great for just kind of jumping in and having a conversation, anything fluid. If you have a question that you're looking for Aaron or myself or Sean or somebody else to answer, it would be great if you put them in the Q&A panel.
Awesome. So thanks with that, we are right at time, and so we'll kick it off to you, Zach, for the Tableau Tips Tuesdays. The Tableau
Awesome.
Design Tips. It's Wednesday.
Sounds good. Thanks, Aaron. Appreciate it.
Absolutely.
So both Sean and I are doing things interactively and live. So that's what that big live thing was in both of our titles. So what I would say now, as I'm getting kind of into my presentation, if you want to follow along, go ahead and open up Tableau. Because once I get to the portion where we're actually doing a demo and build along, you'll want to have Tableau open so that you can actually go through the steps. So with that said, Aaron already said all this stuff. Just a little bit more about me. So I've been using Tableau for a long time. I think actually I just hit my 10th anniversary here recently. So I started with Tableau 7. About 6 years ago, I moved to JP Morgan Chase. Started in the business side, moved into IT, helped to stand up the Tableau COE, and now I run the program. So pretty much my job, and as you'll see, even the things outside of my job are just so much involved with Tableau. So I'm really excited about the application. I do this for fun. I really enjoy what I do with Tableau. So, reaching out to me, it's always open. You've got my information there if you want to catch me on LinkedIn or Twitter, or even shoot me an email. I'm always happy to chat anytime. I am an ambassador, so that just means that I am really, really happy about Tableau, and I promote it a lot, especially in the data dev side. So especially if you have questions about the possibilities of the APIs, of the server set, how to extend Tableau, the data dev day, I'm always happy to answer those questions specifically as well. You can always find me on Tableau Public. What I'm going to be talking about is the design dashboard series that all have been published on Tableau Public. So you can go ahead and check out there if you have any interest in the things that I show. And I'll kind of mention a couple specific links that you can talk about or that you can check out as well. So I have one person saying that my sound is going in and out. Is that happening for everybody? I just want to make sure before I continue. Yes. Okay, that's not great. Give me 1 second. We're going to try and maybe flip things around, and I'm going to make a mess of things, and we're going to try and hopefully flip to my headset. I love live presentations. Okay, can you hear me now? Does it look better? Does it sound better before I continue going? Okay, awesome. All right, so just if anything pops up, if you have any issues, go ahead and pop it in the chat again. I didn't check to see how good I look with the headphones on. All right, so going forward, let's talk a little bit about what is our Tableau design tips. I didn't know what to put there. It kind of sounds weird because it is a program, but they are tips, plural. So what is our Tableau design tips? So Tableau Design Tips is a series that I've been working on starting at the beginning of this year. And it's really kind of just doing a lot of things outside of the box with Tableau, actually building things in a way that's typically not what you would see with Tableau, whether it be something like this, where you can, click and drag things and actually change them with a line slider like this one, or whether it's, doing things that allow users to see a curvy chart versus a box chart and a, regular line chart. It's adding things like the ability to customize charts, something that you wouldn't normally see inside of Tableau, where you can actually pick the colors as an end user or pick the chart type or things like that. It's things like building custom drop downs and selectors as opposed to those that you're used to inside of Tableau that are always default. Still going in and out. Is that the same for others? Yes. You're right. Let me see if I stand right here and I just don't move. Maybe it's moving around. I think
it's better.
Okay.
Than if you're like back
Okay.
further.
I think, all right, hold on 1 second. I want to set my settings real quick.
Sorry, everyone. We'll get it figured out for you.
Okay, what about that?
Sounds a little muffled.
What about now? Can you hear me better now?
Yep, that works for me. I don't, everyone else, does that work okay?
Okay. Yeah, so somebody was right.
Oh, you just cut out again. So I think it was better the original way. And then if you could just stand closer to the computer source, that might
Yeah.
work.
Does this sound any better right here? This is the third option. I just want to try it real quick.
Yeah, that sounds good. Everyone else able to
Okay.
hear?
I'm just gonna, all right, so that sounds much better. So my expensive webcam is not as good as my laptop, which is down there. So that makes sense. I will also just stay very close to you guys so we don't have any issues. So, all right, so going forward, so some other things that I've done with the series is designing tabs. So something you don't normally see like this, where you can actually select tabs to change the view of the charts, things like that. There's a lot of different things inside of here. This one actually is the one we're going to build together. So we're going to build this KPI chart together, something like this. This is one of the more popular ones where, as opposed to clicking on a specific part of a chart, you can actually click on an entire KPI, change the colors below, change the filter, and actually change the background as well. So this is what we're going to build together. So again, if you're interested in that, go ahead and open Tableau, and we're going to build that together. If you're interested in seeing others, I've done about 25 of these so far. Just search this hashtag. And again, it's on Twitter, it's on LinkedIn, it's in both places. You can find it there. Now, some things that I've learned actually while I've done this tip series. Think outside the box. So a lot of times when you work with Tableau or you work with teams that have been using Tableau for a while, you're kind of stuck into what can Tableau do? What are the things that I typically see in Tableau? If you kind of go outside of that, look for inspiration elsewhere and find things that are done in other applications, you'll find that there's a lot of things that you can do in Tableau that you couldn't always do or that have never been thought about before. Every one of the tips that I do is about user experience and thinking about that. So Tableau, the experience should always be the first thing that you think about when designing something new. For example, a lot of times you think of Tableau and you open Tableau, it just doesn't interact the same way as an application might be. An application might act on your phone, or a website might act on the web, things like that. Just think about how users are actually used to moving through applications and clicking on things and hovering over things. And you'll find that there's a lot of things that you can do a little bit different when it comes to Tableau and design. Find inspiration. So I actually don't, I spend a little bit of time looking on Tableau, Tableau Public and things like that for inspiration. More so, I use other kind of design applications and websites like Behance or Dribble. And I'm always looking for things that are in web design or application design, because you'll find that a lot of those things really translate very well to Tableau when you think about that kind of stuff. Out of the 25 tips that I've done, I think 22 of them in a very heavy way leverage parameter actions. So it's a really good thing for you to learn, because you can go outside of the box a lot more when you start using parameter actions in your dashboard. And I'll also talk about this a little bit as we go forward, no highlight trick. So this is one of those things that I don't like about Tableau, is just how it highlights things when you click on them and how it changes the focus and things like that, that just, it doesn't feel natural how it does it. And so a lot of the tips and things that I build, there's ways around that you can kind of trick the system. I would be remiss if I didn't actually mention that I just released my website, and the first post, of course, is all about Tableau design tips. So if you want to see a little bit more of a write-up or a longer version of this presentation with some more details about the different tips, definitely check out my website, datatheories.com. And then finally, to open that website up, I actually built a design tip catalog. So you can actually use this if you open up my profile on Tableau Public. It has all the tips. You can pick the tip that you're most interested in. We'll give that a second to come back up. But basically, you can pick the tip that you're interested in from this display, or you can use the mouse or the left right arrows to go between them and actually like play around with them embedded inside of this. And every one of them has a GIF on kind of how it interacts and how it moves around, and a guide if you're interested in just how to build something like that as well. So all of that said, I think we're ready to actually build. So like I said, we're going to build this. Now, one thing, if you've never sat through one of my presentations before, is I try not to rehearse them. I try not to play around, hence all the issues with the mic and all that kind of stuff. That's the same when it comes to these dashboards. I'm going to mess up along the way. I'm just going to go ahead and tell you that now, but we'll get through it together and we'll figure out how to build it. So let's go ahead and flip to Tableau. There's my messy desktop. That's how it always looks. And we'll flip over there. I'm just going to double check. I'm going to look and see if there's any questions. A lot of stuff about the mics. Mic. Thank you for the compliment on the NBA shot map. Definitely check that out if you're interested in NBA. It has all the shots of the last 20 odd years. So we're going to go ahead and start fresh. So you should have Tableau Desktop open. The first thing we're going to do is open our friendly sample superstore. You guys probably know this. This is the sample data set that's in every version of Tableau. You can just get all the information about sales, who bought things, what they sold, where it was sold, how much it was sold for, things like that. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to actually create a parameter, just because I want to make sure that that's in first. So we're going to go down here, right click, create a parameter. And actually, I scratch that, cancel out of that. We're going to create a parameter based on product category, save us some time. So right click category, create parameter. And that just saves us those steps of actually typing that in here. So we'll keep that like that. I just want to make sure I've got this named the right way. So actually, we're going to call this category select, because we're going to have some fields that reference this. Now, the next thing is actually, I'm going to chat something to you guys, and this is a healthy dose of calculations. So let me put this to everybody. Hey, now, this looks like a lot. Looks like it's going to take forever. I'm actually going to introduce you to a tip that is not mine. So if you know who Lindsay Poulter is, there's a trick that's actually synonymous with her name. And that is taking everything that I just pinged you guys in the chat and throwing it into one calculation. So it should look something like this. Now, what you can do here is you can actually select these one calculation at a time, just like this, and drag them over here. And it actually creates a calculation for you. So rather than going in and typing these all manually one after another, you can simply do this, just drag them, move it over, go to the next one, move it over. And this just saves us the time. We don't have to type every one of them in. Now I would go through these. I feel like it gets kind of boring when we write a bunch of calculations together. I think we want to get to the meat of the stuff instead. And so we'll go ahead and copy all these over. Now, I'm going to give you a minute just to catch up with me. Essentially, what we're doing here with all these calcs is we're going to be using these in a lot of different cases. So basically, we're going to be updating the parameter to select a category. We're going to be changing which fields are shown based on the category. We're going to change some of the headers based on the category and the color of them. And that's what all these are pretty much doing here. Okay, so the first thing that we want to do is, if you remember my chart over there, we had two charts at the bottom for the sales. And so let's go ahead and create that first. And what we're going to do is we're going to drag our order date up here to columns. We will go ahead and make this month discrete. And we're going to take a new instance of order date, throw it on the filter, and make this just 2019. Okay. Finally, we're going to have a field down here that we copied in called selected category sales. Drag that to rows, and we'll also make this a bar chart. Now, I've got two questions. Let me go over here real quick. I can definitely slow down 100%. So I'll slow down a second. So hopefully you have those calculations. Once you drag those calculations in, we want to create this chart. So again, what we've done here is we've dragged a copy of order date to columns. We've made that order date the month. Yeah, it looks like a couple of people are still at the calculation page. So I'll just pause for a minute, let you guys, because obviously we're going to use those calculations for the rest. So I'll just give it maybe a minute or so. So go ahead and take your time, get caught up. So once you have those calculations in, if I kind of clear my sheet, I'll start this over so you guys can see it. The first thing that I did was I dragged order date to columns. I clicked into it and made it month. So we should get 1 month for every month of the year. I copied another version of order date into my filters, and I just made this a year filter. And I made it 2019 only. Once you have the sheet like that, we're going to use our measure, which is one of those fields that we dragged over, which is selected category sales. Now, finally, to get back to where we were, the last thing that I had done was make this from a line chart. So you click this little marks box, change it to a bar chart, and then you should have something like that. Anybody not caught up? Need a couple, another minute or two? Okay. Yep, so we've got somebody still, so we'll just give it a little bit still. Luckily, these charts, there's a lot of copy and paste. And so once we get these done right once, it's not too much to flip them over to the other charts. Okay, so people on the calculation answer these questions. So what I did there was, if you look at the chat, I copied all of this long list of calculations over. And what I did was I copied this out of the Zoom chat. I went into create a calculated field, and I hit paste here. And again, this is just a nice little tip if you ever use like other applications to write anything. What you can do is now, if you select them, so select every combination of title and field, just like that, you can drag them over to your data just like this, and it'll actually create the calculation. So basically going through there and doing the same thing for each of these will give you all of those calculations. And yeah, so question, will this be posted out there? So all of these things are on Tableau Public, and every dashboard that I ever make, I keep them open to download. So yes, you can definitely download the workbook, play around with it. If you don't get through all of this, if you need to come back and play around, you can definitely download it and play around and kind of try and build it yourself as well. Okay, we'll give it maybe about 20 more seconds, then I probably should be getting going into the next step. Okay, error on all my calcs on category select. So I'm wondering if you got category select. When you went into your parameter, did you actually, yeah, so I would double check the spelling, make sure it says category select. Make sure that that's how it's typed in the calculations. It's probably something like that. So make sure your parameter is called that, and it should work just fine. Now, for those that just need to catch up to right here, again, the things I did on this page are month of order date at the top. I did a filter of year equals 2019 of order date on the filters. I dragged selected category sales into rows, and then I made it a bar chart, okay? So the next thing we want to do is make this kind of a stack bar chart, because the chart in the example, I should keep that up so we can kind of go back and forth on that. The chart in the example is kind of a percent of total, so a percent of a target. And so what I've done here is we've got the target sales. So if we want to drag the target sales over here to the rows beside the other one, and just to save us a future step, put that before selected category. So you should have target sales, selected category. And then we want to dual axes these, so put these on the same axis. So you can do that by clicking on one of the axes and actually hitting, sorry, actually it needs to be the second one, and hit dual axis. And that should put them both together. And then you want to hit synchronize axes right here. Should look something like that. So my filters on 2019, I'm not sure if that was directed at me or not, or if that's somebody else. So this is very close to what we want. To actually make it fill the screen, we want to update our axis so that it's only to 1. So edit, and then we'll hit fixed and make it to 1. Make it to 1, like I said. And then that gives us kind of that style of chart that we're looking for. So if I flip back over here, it's kind of the style that we've got right here. Now, some things that we've done, obviously it's a little bit different here, is the first thing we want to do is size them a little bit smaller. So we'll make sure we hit all so that we update both bars at once. Hit the size and drag that down, maybe all the way down to this tick mark. So that's number 1. Number 2 is target sales. So if we edit these colors, actually, we're going to do this a little bit different. So on all, take off your measure names on the color. Go to your selected. And this is another one of those calculations. So we want this to be the selected, let me make sure I got this, selected color. I'll drag that to color. And, oh, sorry, that's not what I want either. What am I doing here? So category color actually is what I want. Category color, apologies. So category color is what we want on the color. And this is where we can actually give it the color that we want. So if we look back at the example, we've got an orange, a green, and a blue. So if we want something like that, what we can do is actually show this parameter, make sure it's on furniture, and we'll do that. So we go up here, we change the furniture. You know, this is really up to you. It doesn't matter what color you choose. I'll go into the orange palette and just kind of pick the bottom left. And then that gray is a little bit too bold for me. So that's as simple as going into the target sales, hitting color, and just finding a gray that you like more. So it might be that one, might be that one. That's fine. And then finally, just little cleanup things. So we don't care about this field label. We can hide that. We don't really care about this header. We can hide that. Probably did the same with this one over here. And I think the last thing that I did on that chart is if you format your month at the bottom, so right-click format, I think I just took this down to the letter. So you can hit dates, letter, and then maybe like bold it up and make it a little bit bigger. So again, stuff that doesn't really matter. It's just cosmetic, but it works just fine. So I'm good with that. We'll call that 2019 sales. Now, the last thing that we want to do is go ahead and plan for the other categories. So obviously we only have furniture right now. To go ahead and get ahead of that, we can go ahead and change this category select. If you don't have that up, you just got to find that parameter and show the parameter and then flip it to something else. So office supplies, again, we want the kind of a blue color. So I'll go into the blue and I'll pick a kind of a really light blue. For the technology, I think I had a green. We'll do the same thing. We'll pop into green and use the bottom left for the green. So it's kind of sticking the same place in the palette. So now we have that nice coloring scheme that as we flip through these, we've got that chart and what it should look like. So I'll pause there just for a moment because I know I did a lot right there, and just see if anybody has any questions, issues on those steps. Okay, so the next step is super simple. What we're going to do is actually take this 2019 sales and we're going to duplicate it. So right click the tab, duplicate it. This one we just want to call 2020 sales. And you guessed it, we just want to go into the filter and change that from 2019 to 2020. That's really all you got to do for this chart. So duplicate, change the title, change the filter, and we're good on both charts. So let's go ahead and hit our dashboard. So we'll go ahead and create a dashboard, which is the little grid icon. Now I usually, for these tips, I've been doing 1000 by 600. So if you want it to be exactly like mine, that's the size that you're going to be looking for. And just because of how this tip is, I'm going to recommend that you float. Some people don't like floating. I'm a big fan of floating dashboards. I think that I like the control it gives me. So I'll hit floating, and I'm just going to drag my 2019 sales down somewhere around here. I don't really care about the stuff it brings in. I don't care about that. And drag it somewhere about like right there. 2020 sales, I'll do the same thing. Sean doesn't agree with me. He's a tiled person. Hey, it's fine. There's times I use tiled. I just like the flexibility of floating. And I mean, one day, Sean might get to the level where he can handle it too. So we'll leave it like that. Now, if you look at my example, there's a little bit more cosmetic stuff. I'm not going to worry about that here. I did like a little line. This is just if you put an actual floating box on there, what's the term? Floating blank on there. You can make it the color that you want just to give it a line. You can throw a title up there and make it look just like that. For this case, I think it's fine. The only thing that I might do, just because it bugs me, is these borders of these lines. So if you right click one of your charts and format, you can go into the rows of your row divider. So hit the borders, turn off your row divider, and turn off your column divider. And then if I go up here, do the same thing, turn off my column divider, turn off my row divider. Now, again, doesn't really mean anything. You'll still see I've got some pane lines on there. I've got the 0 line at the bottom, but it still works just the same. So we're not going to spend too much time worrying about that. Other than that, we're good. We've got those kind of bottom two charts. And the next thing that we need to do is actually build the top. So if we look at this, the top is comprised of, we've got 3 big KPIs, and each of these kind of has their own text of the title. It has the category, it has the number, and it has the little bar chart slider. So let's go ahead and start by building that. So the first thing that we want to do is actually build our, let's go ahead and give this the title, KPI. The first thing we want to do is go ahead, let's create a new sheet. And we're going to go ahead and call this furniture KPI. And I'm going to cheat a little bit and make sure that I do this the right way. So the first thing we want to do is actually go up to our category and filter this to the right category. So furniture. Now there's a couple ways to do this. The way that I gave you the calculation allows us to change the formatting based on whether it's selected or not. And you might ask why that is. So if we look at the example chart over here, you'll notice that we've got this dark background. So obviously what we need to do is when that dark background is behind the chart, we want the font to be white. That's one of the tricky things about this. This is actually not so much the interactivity and how to change the font or change the selection. It's more, how do we make sure that it looks good on both the dark blue background and the white background? And so that takes a little bit of work. So the way that we want to get that done is we're actually going to drag a few fields into this. So the first thing we want is our sales. We're going to drag that to text. We're going to go down here to our fields that we copied in and actually drag both of the not selected furniture to text, the selected furniture to text, and those were both the selected and not selected to, and the selected furniture and the not selected furniture. So that's a lot, obviously. And the reason being is we've got two things happening here. So we've got the sales itself, which is this value up at the top, and we've got the value of furniture sales, which is bottom. So that's what 1 and 2 is actually 1 is the KPI itself, 2 is the furniture sales logo, or sorry, label. So actually we don't need sales itself, just those 4. So selected furniture, not selected furniture 2, not selected furniture 2. That's just how I like to name things. There's obviously other ways you can do that. So we'll go ahead and hit the text button, hit these dots. And what we'll do is we basically want selected furniture first. Then beside it, we want not selected furniture. We'll go to a new line, and then it should be the same thing on the second line. So it should be just like this. So selected, beside it, not selected. Selected to, beside it, not selected to. And this is where you can kind of play around with it, and it allows you to format things based on what's selected. So if it's selected, we want it to actually be the white color. So we'll make it white. If it's not selected, we'll keep it black. Same thing for selected to. So selected to, we'll make it white. It should just look like that. And then finally, there's a little bit of, this is a little bit bigger. So I think, something like maybe 24. This is maybe like 10, and it should look just like that. Now if we hit OK, we should see something that looks about right, 742,000. And if we go over here to the KPI, drag this in, and you don't have to do this, I'm kind of showing this. We look at the parameter, we should see it when I am in the furniture selection, it should turn white, which it does. And that means that if something behind it was dark, we would actually see it better. So we'll undo that. And go back into furniture KPI and do 2 last things just to clean it up. We'll take off the tooltip. And very important, because we want the background to show through, we'll actually go into worksheet. We're going to go into worksheet and format and shading, and then go into the paint bucket and change the sheet to none. Yeah, so where was the tooltip? The tooltip is if you go over here to the tooltip button, this little icon right here on the mark shelf, you can hit that, and that brings up your tooltip dialog, and then you can just turn it off. Now, it's not going to hurt anything if you leave it on, but it just cleans it up a little bit. And then to format and give it no background, we would just go up here to format, shading, and then make sure you're on the sheet page and hit worksheet equals none. That just gives you no background as opposed to the default white. Okay. So now we'll go ahead and we're going to duplicate this. And we'll go ahead and make this whatever the second one was. I gave you guys furniture, office supplies. So office supplies. And I should probably make that a KPI, office supplies KPI. Now the same kind of thing. So edit the filter and make it office supplies. And then we can kind of save ourselves a little bit of time. So if we go over to these fields and just drag the right one on top of the right one over here. So office supplies sales, or sorry, selected Okay, only get, so I actually only, so I had forgotten this. So I didn't want to have you guys go through this for all these. So I actually didn't paste in all of the different versions of these calculations because it can kind of be a pain. So what I'm going to do just to save us some time is I'm just going to actually just go to sales, make that up here, and actually just take out the rest for this one. Now you guys can do this or you can just kind of skip this step. It's up to you. We'll go 24 and we'll just call this office supplies. I think I made that 10. Maybe it was 12. And then same thing over here. I'll just duplicate that and make this technology. Just update that and make it technology. Now, again, the right way to do this would be to take all of these 1 and 2 calculations, so all 4 of these, and duplicate them twice so that you've got the same calculation in office supplies, same calculation in technology. So it always flips between the dark and the white version of the fonts so that it updates accordingly. So we'll go ahead and I'm going to go back to my dashboard and hide the title. And I'm just going to make this, so this is where I would use a container because I want them together. I'll go ahead and drag a horizontal container. Now, to make sure that this is right, we'll just make sure that all 3 of these go inside. And it is important that we do them in the right order. So we'll do furniture on the left, office supplies in the middle, technology sales on the right. We'll take off our titles just to make sure these fit and make sure that they fit entire view from up here. And then if you take this container, so you can double click this, you can actually get the whole container and then just fit it kind of across the top here. So little things here, we can see that some of them came across as left, some of them came across as right. So if yours looks like mine, just kind of clean that up. I would say make them all left. And that's fine. Now, we'll come back to that little bar if we have time. So if we look at the example, we've got this little bar. You've already done it. It's the same as these down here. So you could definitely do that part. But the big thing about this that's appealing is the ability to click. So I want to make sure that we get to that because they only have 10 minutes left. So the first thing that we want to do is actually put something behind them to change the color. So the first thing we'll do is create one more chart and we'll say background. So in this background, basically what we want to do is take selected, well, actually, sorry, let me think about this to remind myself I haven't touched this in a while. Background, okay. So the first thing that we want is category across the columns. And we want this to be a square sheet. So we go ahead and pick square. We want to size this up a lot. So somewhere around like, I'd say up here-ish. We'll play around with that sizing. I think it could even go a little higher. And then we want to color this by the selection. So go back to selected color. Drag that to color, and you'll see we've got a true and a false. And this one's pretty easy. We just want it to be, when it's true, we want it to be kind of like a dark grayish color, I think something like that. When it's false, we just want it to be white. So we'll actually double click the false, and that opens up this color selector. You could hit white, hit OK, and then we've got a dark color when it's true, white when it's false, and we've kind of got that selection like we would want. Now, a couple little things to clean that up. We'll just take off the title. We will take off the tooltip. And we'll take off those row dividers. So right-click Format, Grid, Row Divider None. And then it's pretty simple from here. What we want to do is go back to KPI and just put this behind it. So put this on our sheet. We'll make sure that we hide that and we fit it, just like on all the other sheets that I've selected. And we'll just say floating order, send it to back. This is where we can kind of play around with it. We want it to be right here. We want it to be something like that. You know, we want it to fit basically the same size as this. So this was, what we got, 5524. So if we do this over here, we pick this. And again, this is just me being very precise. You don't have to do this 5524. And then if we look at the 870 and 123. So we'll go back to this and make it 870 and 123. Take off this little color legend. It's very close, but still not quite big enough. So we'll go back to it, make it a little bit bigger. You know, you got to play around with these because they're kind of finicky. Sometimes they'll actually get smaller as you make them bigger, which is not the thing that makes the most sense. But it's very close. What I might do is just to save us some time here, I'll actually just size down our KPIs so that they fit a little bit better on top of that. So now what we want to do is obviously we go back to if we want to show our parameter, show this, bring this to the front. You'll see that, whoops, as we change this, the background's actually going to change. Now, again, we didn't go through the effort to do the white and black on all of these, but you can see it take effect on this first one. So as we change it, it actually changes. Now, the last thing that really matters here, and I mean, you'll see we've got some roughness around the edges here that we would have to play with, but for the most part, it's good. Now, the last thing that we want to do is we don't want this selector to show up because that just kind of goes against the user experience that we were talking about. So we'll actually shut that off and create our final chart. Now, this is a little advanced feature that isn't all that well known, but something that's really great in Tableau is actually creating transparent sheets and transparent objects and using those. So what I'd like to do is float basically a copy of this color on top of these charts so that when I pick the chart, it changes the parameter, which then in turn changes my selection. So the way to do that is I'm actually going to open PowerPoint. Now, you guys don't have to do this if you want to skip this step, but it's very easy to build a transparent shape inside of PowerPoint. All you would do is you go into PowerPoint, and we'll just even use the guide we're using right now. We'll insert a shape. So let's just say we want to do a square. Square is usually what you're going to do. We'll create something that's about that kind of shape that we were doing for this background, something like maybe that. And then it's as simple as just go and shape outline, no outline, shape fill, no fill, and we've got a transparent object. And you can actually take this now and save it as a picture. Throw it in your background. And there we go. Now we got to get it into our shape. So if we want to get into our shapes, all we got to do there, this is something to save you time if you ever use custom shapes or use them a lot. I always forget where they are. So what I'm going to do is grab it from my desktop. I'm going to copy it, go back into Tableau. I'm going to go into File, Repository, and Location. This automatically takes you to that location. And from here, you can go into Shapes. You can create your own folder if you want, or just put it in one of the other folders. So if I want to do, selector, select, I can do that, and then just go in here and actually hit paste. It's weird, it won't show you that you pasted, but it does happen. I can show you that. So cancel out of it, we've got our custom shape. Now we want to go in here and we'll probably just duplicate our background. And instead of that square, we'll take off the color. We'll actually make this a custom shape. We'll just go shape. And we'll go in here to the shape and hit more shapes. Now, since we just updated our palette, we got to actually hit reload shapes. We'll go in here and you actually see that I now have a select bottom. And it's kind of hard to see, but there is an invisible icon there. I hit OK. Again, I might, the size looks fine. I'll call this click. And if I go back to my KPI, I now have one more item that I can actually take on here. One thing I missed is you do want to, just like your other sheets that are sitting on top, go to the format shading and make sure it has no background. And then actually go and drag it all over this just like before. Make sure it hits entire view. And you'll actually see it, like you'll see my cursor change to a click just to show that it's there. Now, the last thing that I want to do is I want to update my parameter based on what I click. So when I click on one of these shapes, I want it to actually update my parameter, which then changes the dashboard. So last thing I'll do is go to Dashboard Actions. I will add a parameter action. We want only the click. So just make sure you've only got click selected. If you're still following along, I'll say update parameter or something like that, update P. We want to make sure it's going against category select, that it's passing category, and we'll just keep the current value. Hit OK, hit OK. And now when I click on these things, give it a second, you actually see it change the charts below and change the stuff up at the top as well. Now, again, there's some things that are missing there. There's things that I didn't go through, but for the predominant build here, all the stuff that's in there, you can kind of see what we did. So a little bit more formatting of the color and the sizes, adding this line here, changing those colors and playing with some backgrounds and little formatting things, you'd have exactly this chart. The bones are all there. Now, again, if you didn't get to actually like follow along, I do encourage you, go to my profile, find this tip, KPI filter design tip, and then it's a simple, you can go in here and just hit the download button. You can see all the inner workings, build it, and again, ask me if you have any questions. So I'm right at 2:05. I do want to see you just real quickly before I pass it over to Sean. Any questions real quick I can answer? I know that did get a little fast in the second half. I apologize. And I apologize for the mic issues. Hopefully everything sounded good for the latter half. Thanks, Chad. I think Chad's excited about it. Stephania likes it too. Beer, thank you. I'm glad you guys like it. Check out the rest of the series. There's a lot of cool stuff on there. And let me know if you have any feedback for sure. So that said, Sean, you ready to pick it up?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Awesome.
All right. Cool. I will find there it is. Here we go. Share. Desktop one. All right. All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited to be here. My name is Sean Miller. I'm a I'm a lead BI developer at Cerner, based in Kansas City. If you're not familiar, Cerner is one of the world's largest EMR providers to health organizations across the world. So every time you go to the doctor, or maybe you got a vaccine and they were typing onto an iPad or into a computer, Cerner is the company that writes the code for those programs that they were typing into. My job at Cerner is I'm an analytics COE leader for our population health division. And so what I get to do some really cool stuff, and basically from a longitudinal record, right? So think, from the time, if you get a knee surgery, right? From the moment you very first see your doctor and you start talking about, hey, maybe I need to get a knee replacement, there's going to be several things that happen along the way, all the way leading up to the surgery and then everything in rehab, right? So all of those claims, we kind of jumble up together and we get to report on each step of the different phases. And then we get to basically our mission is to help health systems drive down costs while increasing value. So I get to do some really cool stuff in that space. I really like it. I've been there several years. I'm a Tableau desktop certified professional. I also run the Kansas City Tableau user group. So if in this virtual tug world that we live in now, If you're interested and have the time, you can come check us out and join us. We'd love to have you. Similar to Zach, I'm also an ambassador. I am a Tableau social media ambassador. I don't do any data stuff, data dev stuff like Zach, but I'm always good for a GIF and a good snarky comment. But I tweet a lot. I post a lot. I have a blog and a YouTube channel at Hipster Viz Ninja, which is also my handle on Twitter. So come find me. My content is featured in the book #Makeover Monday. And what we're here to talk about today is Workout Wednesday, of which I am a contributor and coordinator for Workout Wednesday. So really excited to be here. What is Workout Wednesday? Well, Workout Wednesday is a weekly challenge to recreate data-driven visualizations. Very, very simply put, every single week on Wednesdays, there will be a new challenge in Tableau. And recently, in 2021, we launched a Power BI arm. So if you're also working in Power BI, or you know of colleagues who are looking to upskill within their tool of choice, this is a great way to do that. And basically the premise of Workout Wednesday is you get to, if we look at this week's by Kendra, little introduction, we're going to give you a link to the workbook on Tableau Public so that you can look at it. We give you the requirements of what you need to build, and then we give you the data set, and then it's your job to figure out how to do that or recreate it as best you can. At any time, we allow you to download the completion workbook so you can reverse engineer if you get stuck somewhere. We also have a very active community who are posting a lot of different solutions on Twitter and on LinkedIn and on their respective blogs. So come check us out. It's a great way to skill up. I would not be where I am today without Workout Wednesday. The history of Workout Wednesday is long and well documented. It started way back in 2017 by this guy named Andy Kriebel. You may have heard of him. He is a Tableau Zen Master Hall of Famer. He is a Tableau guru. Everybody knows, if he's probably the #1 name you hear first when you think of Tableau. So he started this with Emma White back in 2017, and then he kind of handed this off to us, and we kind of took it and ran with it. And so the great thing that I really like about it is it's not successive. We're not building on top of each other, right? So if you miss one week, it's not a problem, because the next week is going to be something completely different. And so there's lots of different challenges out there. In fact, we have a challenge insights dashboard that you can go into, and you can, what I really like about it is we actually collected some metadata on all of the challenges. So if there's a particular aspect of Tableau that you really want to practice on or get some inspiration from, you can use this to filter down to a particular content area, and then get those challenges and learn more about that. So definitely come check this out, workout-wednesday.com. It's going to be a fun time. And like I said, it's every single week. So we have a lot of in our backlog. So come on in and get started. One of the things that I do like to point out about Workout Wednesday, it is not necessarily meant for the absolute beginners. It is, I would say, safely, if you've been using Tableau for 6 months to a year, you're probably ready to start going the extra mile. If you're just brand new to Tableau within your first several months, a lot of this is going to be really, it might be over your head a little bit. It's not a big deal. You can still join, you can still try, you can still download and reverse engineer everything. But just know that going into it. So the challenge that we're going to walk through today, similar to what Zach did, I'm going to build this live in front of you, and we're going to talk about some of the different parts and pieces of it. We're going to go way back into the backlog, all the way back to 2017, week 27, and we're going to build a 4-box. This is a really great chart to build. For some reason, I've learned that executives love this type of chart. Here's everybody, and here is where they fall relative to themselves, relative to the rest of the population, right? So as you can see, we're going to do a scatter plot of sales over discounts as we let this load again. Refresh, there we go. Sales over discounts, and then we're going to be able to, what we're going to do is we're going to build this such that you can change what each dot represents. So we have customer, we have product, and we have zip code. So you're able to change what each dot represents. We're also going to add in a filter right here, so you can narrow it down to a specific region. And then we're going to, the last two things, obviously we're going to color this by which quadrant they fall into. And then in the tooltip, you're going to see that we have a dynamic tooltip. So you can see the color changing based on which quadrant they fall in. So we're going to do a little bit of a dynamic tooltip. And then the last thing you'll notice is the title updates as well, depending on what you click on. So that's what we're going to build. And I hope you enjoy it, and let's get into it. So I'm just using the Tableau sample Superstore data set that we all know and love. First thing I'm going to do is make sure that we've got our aggregations right. So we need to make sure that our discount field is aggregating at the average. And we also want to make sure that our discount is set to a percentage. And I'm going to do that at 1 decimal point, just like that. All right. So first thing, it's a scatter plot of sales. So I'm going to drag sales out on rows. I'm going to drag discount on columns. I have a single dot scatter plot just like that. First thing I'm going to do is create our parameter. It is going to be a float. I'm going to call this dot represents. And yep, call it integer is what it's actually going to be. And this is going to be a list parameter. And I just like the way that I build out my parameters just for ease of use is the value are just going to be, I'm just going to number, it's just going to be a number. And then what they're going to display as is what I'm actually going to be. It's going to be the human readable different parts. So I've got 3 things in my drop down. So I'm just going to say 1, 2, 3. But then in my display as, I'm going to say customer name. I'm going to say product. And this one is going to be zip code. Now you might be wondering, why am I doing it this way? Well, because whenever I write my calculation, it's gonna make a lot more sense. So now I need to write a calculation. So for those of you who are newer to Tableau, parameters exist outside your data source. You can write as many parameters as you want, but you can't do anything with your parameters until you build a calculation. So we're going to right click on our parameter here, and we're going to create a calculated field. And of course, Tableau likes to, if you've got multiple screens, Tableau likes to throw all of the different dialog boxes up in different places. So that's fun. Who knows why? It just is. All right. So this is what I'm going to say is level of detail. This is going to be a case statement. So case dot represents when 1, then And I know that whenever I listed out my, when I created my parameter, number one value represented customer name. So I'm actually going to bring my customer name dimension into that. When two, then product name. When three, then postal code. And then I need to end that. Now Tableau is going to get mad at me. The reason Tableau gets mad at me is because customer name and product name are both string fields. Postal code is an integer field. And Tableau's like, I don't know what you want me to do because you've got different types coming in here. So if I just wrap this in a string field, I'm just going to convert this inline calculation into a string field. Now you can see Tableau's happy. So let's go back before I go here, before I finish this. Let's go back here. So let's say you're building out parameters and you've got different radio buttons. You've got different things in your list. And I'm glad I did this because this doesn't say, needs to be zip code. There we go. All right. So you're building this for your stakeholder. You show them this maybe in a quick demo session, and they're like, "This is really great, but you know what? I'd really like you to add state to this, and I would like you to add customer segment and subcategory and right? Because stakeholders love to just keep adding requirements, don't they? By doing this as values, doing this as a valued list, it's going to cut down on the number of keystrokes. So you just keep adding to your list, right? So 4, 5, 6, 7, and then you come into your calculation and you just write it however you want to. So this is why I like to do my parameters such that they come in like this. All right, so I got that good. I'm good with this. Creates that. I'm now going to drop my level of detail onto detail. And now I've got a scatter plot of that. And now I can show my parameter control. Here's another quick tip. If you didn't know, you can rearrange your canvas however you want. I like to have my parameters right over here. I'm going to drop this as a radio button. And now you can see as I select different things, I've got new things. It's changing, right? It's changing what each dot represents. All right. Let's see. Quick check of there we go. So now what we need to do, if we go back and we look at this, next thing I want to talk about is reference lines. So you probably, quick raise of hands, who, whenever you hear the word table calculation, who gets a little antsy, who gets a little nauseous, anxious, don't really like seeing, don't really understand table calculations. It's kind of this nether world. I'm here to ease your anxiety, because if you are comfortable with reference lines, you are going to be easily able, after this, to be able to translate a reference line into a calculation. So if we go up here to the analytics pane, we can do a reference line, and I'm going to drop it onto the table for both measures because that's what we need. All right. So I'm going to blow your mind right now. Okay. So what are we doing? This value right here, this is the pill that you have in your view. Average discount, average discount. This right here, these are all window functions. These are all table calculations, Tableau table calculations. This is total. This is window sum. This is window min, window max, window average, and window median. So if we use that, I'm going to change this to the value. change this to a dashed black line. I don't need a reference line tooltip, and I don't need to show recalculated. I'll do the same thing for my sum of sales. Show the value, no tooltip, dashed black lines. Don't recalculate. All right. So now what we need to do is we need to color based on where they fall. We need to color each dot based on where they fall in relation to these reference lines. So what we're going to do is we're going to build out. This is going to be, I'm going to say ref average sales. And that's going to be, and we're going to translate that. So we did a window average of sum of sales. Now, I'm also going to set my table calculation to, I know exactly how I want my table calculation to be, to compute. So I'm going to go ahead and click default, and I'm going to select my level of detail calculation because that's the level of detail that I want. That's how I want Tableau to compute the window average. So I click OK here. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove this. Let's remember that 2897. I'm going to remove this reference line. I'm going to take my ref average sales and I'm going to drop it on detail. Now I'm going to right click on my sales axes and I'm going to add a reference line. I'm going to change my value to be this pill, this ref average right here. I click that, change this to a value, not none, value, 2897, right? So we have translated a reference line into a table calculation. Now that we've done that, now that we know that, we can use that in additional calculations down the road. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to say if the sum of sales is greater than or equal to ref average sales, then high sales, else low sales. And this is going to be sales comparison to average. And again, here's another cool trick. Did you know that you can click on a calculated field and you get the actual function in here? Again, when I completed this challenge a while ago, many years ago, this really kind of blew my mind because learning how to translate reference lines and really anything in the analytics pane into a table calculation was like a really mind-blowing thing. So so that was really cool. All right, so what I'm saying is if sum of sales is in relation, if it's greater than, return high sales, else low sales. Click OK. And now just to double check to make sure this is working, I'm going to drag this onto color. Yep, high sales is blue, it's above the reference line. Low sales is orange, it's below the reference line. This is working exactly the way that I want. And I like to do things as easy as possible, so I'm going to duplicate that field. And I'm going to change this. First thing I need to do before I do that, I also need to duplicate this guy. No, this guy. Let's duplicate that. And let's do a ref of average discount. just like that. Okay. Now we can come in here to our copy. I can change this to average discount. And I can change this to reference average discount. Change that to high discount and low discount. Was that actually faster than just rewriting it? Probably not, but it's the way I like to do things. So we just get stuck in our ways, and then that's just the way we do things, right? All right, so we got those cleaned up now. And just to make sure, yep, lower than average, higher than average. Now what I need to do is I need to figure out a way to combine these two fields. And we can do that pretty easily just by concatenating those two fields together. And I'm going to call this sales over discount, just so I remember which I'm putting in first. So I've got sales comparison plus dash plus discount comparison. Just like that. Now I've got this field. When I drop this onto color, bam, just like that. All right. Let's go ahead and change this to a circle while we're here. There we go. And now you can see that everything is colored the way that it should be. So that's working exactly the way that it needs to be. So the next thing that we need to do is let's go ahead and drag our region filter. So one, you could drag this into filter, select all, and click OK. I like to do things a little bit faster. So I'm just going to right click on region, show filter. Bam, done. Also, it's a multi-select. Anytime you have a multi-select, whether it be a multi-select dropdown or a multi-select list, I always apply the click apply button. Where'd it go? Tableau's being silly on me today. There we go. Let's see if it'll do it now. All right, it's not, it's being silly. So that's weird. All right, so, whoa. All right, that's weird. Stop. What's going on here? Okay. Tableau is just freaking out on me. All right, here we go. Here we go. Now we're back to square one. Very good. That was weird. Okay, so what we need to do now, let's while we're here, let's go ahead and do our what do you say? Let's do the dynamic title real quick while we're here. So how does, oh, drop that here. There we go. Let's say, how does discounting impact sales by, and I'm going to put my dot represents parameter field right there. And I'll make it bold so that people know it's changing. That's the thing that changed. There we go. Make sure that's working. Product, yep. Zip code, yep. Just like that. So that's working. Now the last thing I need to do is we need to do some tooltip fun stuff. So what I need to do is I basically need to create this. So what I'm going to do is say, we'll say this is high, and I'll say if sales over discount equals high sales dash high discount. Then I'm just going to copy this text. So if the quadrant equals high discount, high sales, I want you to return the string field, high sales, high discount. If it's not, don't return anything, return null. Click apply. And then you're going to duplicate this 3 times. Duplicate, duplicate, duplicate. And then we're just going to go in here. This is actually going to be high, low. Change this. Change this. Take our next one. Be low, high. This is low. This is low. Take this. This is going to be low, low. And we just say low. Low. Low, low. All right, so I've created those. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to take those fields that I just created. I'm going to multi-select, so shift select all 4. I'm going to drag those and I'm going to drop them right on the tooltip shelf of the marked card. So just drop them right there. Now, before we do any cool formatting, let's make sure this is working the way that it should. So let's highlight one. This person obviously falls in the high-low category. This is the color. This is what's doing the color, because every single person, every single mark has something on here. But the only thing that shows up on this is high sales, low discount. Everything else is null. And that's good. So if we go over here, yep, only high, high shows, only low, high, and only low, low. Perfect. Now we can use that to edit our tooltip. Bring it back. There we go. And now if we go back, let's figure out how we're going to do this tooltip. This is level of detail is a dynamic field. And we're going to use the level of detail parameter next after that. So that's how we're actually going to write that. So it's actually going to be the level of detail field. Actually, real quick, bold, make this 12, and we'll do black. We don't need to be bold. There we go. All right, level of detail is a, and this is where I'm just gonna stack these right next to each other. Stack them right on top of each other. High, low, high, and then low, low. Space, and then I'm actually going to put dot represents parameter right there with an average discount of, and then we just use our pills, average discount and a total sales of sum of sales, just like that. Now all we need to do is we go into each one of these, select our color. I know that high, high is blue. I know that high, low, according to my color legend, is orange. My low, high is red. And my low, low is this teal color. If you didn't have those in your recently used colors, you could click more colors and then use a screen picker. So if I did this, again, Tableau likes to send all my different dialog boxes all over my screens. You can just use the eyedropper and say, yep, that's the one I want right there, right? So if you don't have those, that's how you can do that. All right, so now, last thing we'll do, last little tip. If you are putting this worksheet in a dashboard with multiple sheets, always, 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 always uncheck include command buttons. Just do it. It'll make your life a lot simpler. What is that? That is that little bar up above the tooltip that says keep only, exclude, those types of things. That can be really confusing to end users who aren't really necessarily familiar with Tableau. They think maybe that's a filter, but that will only remove or keep only within that individual sheet. And the only way to get it back is to revert your entire dashboard. I really wish Tableau would just default this unselected by default, but for now, just always uncheck include command buttons if you have multiple sheets on a dashboard. I'll also uncheck that. Click OK. And now you can see, I might bold that just so we can see it a little bit better. I'm going to bold all of those. There we go. There we go. High sales, or high sales, high discount, high, low, 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 high. So that is how you complete this challenge. That took us what, 20 minutes, 25 minutes? Not really sure, but not a lot of time. This may have been one of the more easier challenges for you. This may be something that you can do pretty easily, but you know, if you're just coming, if you're a newer user, hopefully there were some nuggets in here that you were able to really take away, and hopefully now you can start using this analytics pane. Just practice, just figure out, okay, which all of these, like average line, median with quartiles, box plot, all of those things can be done with table calculations. So hopefully you can learn how to translate this analytics pane into table calculations. Why would you need to do it? Well, because if you can learn how to write the syntax for window functions, you can use them in other analysis, right? So maybe I wanted to create a KPI chart at the top of this to actually count the number of people, the number of dots that show up in each quadrant, right? So maybe I wanted a high level view of that. I would need to be able to translate that calculation into that so that I could then do a count based on that. So thank you. Be happy to take any questions. Looks like we've got one. What date was this Workout Wednesday example from? This was 2017. So this actually lives on Andy Kriebel's blog. If you go to vizwiz.com, he's got in his header, he's got Workout Wednesday. Scroll all the way down to week 27, I believe it is. And that's what this challenge is.
I got a question, Sean. So,
Yeah.
So I didn't do a very good job introducing you, but one of the things that I usually get from your presentation that I didn't hear this time was who was your favorite customer in the Superstore data set?
Ah, that's great. Yes. So let's do it. Actually, instead of telling you about it, why don't I show you? How about that? So now a little backstory. I've been using Tableau since 2017-ish, 2016, I should say. I went to a training class and they introduced Tableau. Tableau is a drag and drop UI. You just drag fields on. You can't break anything. So my very first interaction with Tableau was building the chart that I'm about to build you right now. So what I did, I was looking through all these fields and I was like, customer names right at the top. All right. So I'll drag that to rows and, sales. This is a sales data set. So sales. So I drag that up to columns. Cool, it's a bar chart, but it's not really sorted. How do I sort? I looked here. Oh, there's a sort. Are you kidding me? So think about this. You've never used Tableau before. You've been told, hey, Sean, we're getting Tableau. You need to go learn how to do it. You need to go learn how to use Tableau. And the very first chart you make is a chart that has your name at the very top. Like, I was blown away. It was kind of creepy a little bit. Like, I was looking at the people next to me like, hey, is that like, is that the same in your data set as it is in mine? Like, maybe I thought maybe the instructor did some really cool stuff and he put everybody, he kind of aliased everybody to be their own customer. But no, this is out of the box Tableau. I'm in the sample superstore data set with the highest amount of sales. So.
And it's been that way ever since, right? So
it has, yeah. Ever since 2016, every single release with the new release of Superstore, I'm still there. So it's pretty cool.
Anybody, any other questions for Sean? Anything else for him?
Perfect.
Cool.
So one thing else, is there any specific content that people are interested in seeing within the coming year? We are starting to plan out not just for the next month, but also for the remainder of the year, what some of our sessions will be, as well as our panelists. So if you have something that you're interested in seeing, let us know. So we have something on here for mapping stuff. We actually
I
have it
like
written
mapping
down.
stuff.
Awesome. Any others? Feel free to just put them in the chat. You don't have to speak up.
Well, before we wrap, I do want to thank my good friend Sean. I appreciate you joining us. It's always great. I encourage everybody to check out Workout Wednesday. I've done quite a few myself. They're always challenging, even if you think you know your stuff. I've been using, like I said, Tableau for 10 years. They still are very challenging, a lot of them. I mean, Sean's are okay. They're pretty easy, but some of the other people.
That's right. That's right.
So
No,
looks like we do have a few people with their hands raised. So I'm going to just go in order that they're listed. So Ross, I just went ahead and unmuted, or not unmuted, but allowed you to be a panelist. So go ahead and unmute and ask any questions or feedback that you have.
No, I'm good. I was raising my hand from something earlier with Zach.
Okay. I'll
Just
go
keep
ahead and
moving.
move to Shane Dancy.
I know that name. Shane, you there? You have a question for us?
All right, we'll go down to the next person. So Mike Sarko.
That was when they asked us to raise our hand
Oh, okay.
about
Do you have
something.
anything that you want to share now?
No, I've been quite vocal in chat.
Okay, sounds good. All right, we'll go ahead and disable talking. And then the last one we have is Carl. All right, I don't think we have him, so go ahead and disable talking. If you do have something, feel free to put it in the chat. But with that, I think we are good to wrap up. Give everyone about 12 minutes back of their day. Prep for those 3 o'clock meetings.
Thanks,
Have a
everybody.
great week,
Appreciate you
everyone, and
joining.
see you next month.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Sean.
Thank you, Sean. Thank you, Zach.